Hey guys, welcome to Richie AI Automations. Today I created a smart inventory tracker system using make.com with no code. Um, so, what if you could automatically alert yourself, alert your team when one of your stock runs low, you know, or you automatically have a system that updates your inventory when your vendor fulfills the refill order without lifting a finger with no code. This fast, efficient can be done in less than a second. In less than a second. Yeah, milliseconds. So in this video, I will show you exactly how I did that and brought this to life using make.com with no code at all. So basically what this does is it searches the record in a data store and routes it to two different sections based on the logic and scope of this um, build. So what the first route does is it checks for the total product quantity, and if it's less than 50, after a numeric aggregator sums all the products together, if it ends up being less than 50, an alert will be captured, which will be set in this variable before being sent as an alert. Or if you have an individual quantity, let's say like a green hoodie specifically, and it's less than 5, an alert is sent out to you or your team members to let you know, or even your vendor to let them know, like, hey, this is low, we need a refill, let's fix that. So I'm just going to run this so you see how it works, and we can get into it. So right now I'm running this. We can see, voila, everything goes. The data that we're going to be used is already present in the data store, but I'm going to start everything from scratch so you can see how I went about creating this flow. So this is some of the records, your t-shirts, your hoodie, the variants for the different types of hoodie. We have the black hoodie, we have the gray hoodie, we have the blue hoodie. Same as for the shirts, and red shirts, green shirts, and the rest of the data. But we're going to see all this in a minute, and all that goes through the router. And as you can see in this Gmail, an email was sent out, which we're going to check in our email right now. Oh, you can see there's a new message. We're going to see what this is. And 1 minute ago, yeah, I just ran it earlier, like 20 minutes ago, just to check, just to make sure it's working and there was no error. But yes, as you can see, it sends a message saying, hello, your alert letting you know, like, okay, there's a product quantity warning, which is this product quantity, sorry, individual quantity in this case, because this is the individual quantity. This, I did not connect it to an email, so but you're going to see all this in a minute. So it sends you an alert for, like, oh, your shoe, your sneakers, this is the SQ number, it's gone 5 or less, but it's currently 5 right now, so we're trying to let you know. Then there's this option that says, please click here when you have confirmed the delivery of the stock. So whether it's your vendor fulfilling his or their orders, or it's someone else in your team delivering the stock, once that has been delivered, they can click here and automatically your inventory will be updated. I will show you all that in play. So let's go ahead and start this. Just for a quick slide I put together, I wanted to show you guys. So this is an online clothing store inventory tracker demo POC Google slide. Yeah, the use case is Paula. She runs an online clothing store, and she sells various items, 4 items: your shirts, your sneakers, your shoes, your socks, your hoodie, and she wants to keep a track of this inventory. But she just wants two logics: if the quantity of a product goes below 50, or if an individual quantity of a product goes below 5. And that way she can use this data to, for example, automatically contact our supplier to order more stock. So the problem, or the pain in this situation, is she has no system in place to track our inventory, and without this, she risks overselling, she risks missing reorder windows, and she even misses for she even risks frustrating the customer. And that's the thing, you don't want to frustrate your customer. So what she needs is a daily store checks and alerts for different product quantity, whether when it goes below 5 or 50. So the solution, obviously, in this place would be to create this smart inventory system that solves all our problems. Stores the product, iterates through each one, checks the total and individual stocks, and sends an alert and email. This is fully scalable. It can support any product log with nested variants. We'll get into that in a minute. Nested variants, don't forget that. Then general use case, this can be used for e-commerce, for inventory teams, for digital product libraries, for service-based variants, and so much and so forth. So we're going to jump into this real quick to see how I put all of this together, and watch how it goes down. So first thing we want to do is we want to inject the data. The data we're going to be using, we're going to call this clothing store data injection. So we're going to be injecting data into our database that we'll be using. For this case, we'll be using mix.com Datastore, just to keep everything centralized. It's faster that way, the errors are minimal. So we are going to jump into that real quick. So for this, we want a JSON parser, because we're going to be using JSON data to parse the data from this. Okay, so I have from this to our data store, where we're going to add or replace a data store. So let us quickly create one so we can come back and connect the models. So for a data store, we will come here. I have a data store already, but I'm just going to delete it and create a new one. Okay, no, I don't. Okay, so we're going to call this clothing store. Okay, clothing store data. We are going to add a data structure, clothing store data structure. So we can either add item or we can generate. For this case, we're going to generate to make it faster. We don't want to manually input all of this. I already have a copy of a JSON script that I used earlier, so we can just replicate that. So I'm going to put the sample data here. You're going to see the sample clearly when we're injecting the data, but for now we're just creating the structure. This is just the structure for now. So we're going to generate this, and as you can see, voila, generated. We have the ID, we have the name, which we want in the text format, the description in a text format, the type in a text format, a unit, the unit numbers in the text format, no unit number, sorry, the units, the variant, and the variant. The variant is the most important aspect of this flow, because you don't want to get it wrong. The variant is where the nested categories are. So you want to pick an array type, because you're going to nest it within an array. So while we're nesting within an array, the item specification, which will be the collection. So the so make outputs bundles, which are usually an array or a collection of items. So that is what we want to specify here by specifying the SKU number, the color, the size, the price, and the quantity, the number, which is important. That is what's going to tell us if we are running low or not. So with that being said, you leave everything the way it is and you click save. You save this. Now we have our clothing store data store. Let's quickly take a look at this. It's empty. The data has not been injected yet. This is not how we're going to inject it. This just created the data store with the columns for each of the structure we created. This is the variant right here. I mean, we can manually add this one after the other, but I don't want to go into this. It will just take time. One thing to note, for the variant, you can't just type it in because we nested it. We nested it within an array. And in that case, if we're going to manually do that, you just click the edit button, you add your item. You can see the headers are already pre-populated because we created the data structure from earlier. But we don't need to fill all this because we are going to automatically fill all the data we need for this POC demo. So now that we see we have our data structure, we are going to come back here to now connect and set it up. So for the JSON we're going to parse, we already have the JSON string that gives us the ID, the t-shirts, and the variant. So for this, we have like a red shirt, 20 red shirts. We have 130 green shirts. We have people like green shirts. We have 50 blue shirts. For the hoodie, the same thing. So all this has been, written out here. We're going to save this. For the data store, now we're going to pick the data store we want this data to go to. For this, it will be our clothing store data we just created. The key, we can leave it blank. We don't need to put anything there right now. The key will be automatically generated. So now we want to map this to the parse JSON. So before we map this, because right now, as you can see, there is really nothing to map. So we're just going to run this once so that the output is created so that we can now properly map what we are trying to do. So with that being said, we can now come back here. Now we have the ID, we have the name, we have the description, we have the type, we have the units, and for the variants, we are going to change this to mapping, and we're going to map the variant. As you can see, the variant has an array. This is telling you that it's nested with some details. The SKU, the color, the size, the price, the quantity, all of that. So we're going to save this. Usually on a normal day, we need the key, but in this situation, we don't. Overwrites, we're going to put it on no. We can put it on yes if we are maybe testing things out and we don't want to keep creating records, and we just want to keep overwriting what we have there with different data. But we don't need any of that now. Like the key is pretty much to retrieve the record. So since we're not retrieving record and we're adding, we're going to leave it blank. Something will be generated for us. So we're going to save this, and now we're going to run all this once, and voila, from the JSON data we presented, it's created the records for each of the 4 items and sent it into the data store. So if we come back here to check our data store, let's reload this. Voila, the key was generated for us. Our ID was mapped. The names were mapped: t-shirts, hoodie, jeans, sneakers. the description we gave for each of the names, the types, clothes, shoes, the units. It's a piece, a pair. Now the variance was nested, remember? So this is how it will come out as collections. For the first one, you have a red shirt, red t-shirt. For the second one, we have a green t-shirt. For the last one, I think it's blue. Yes, blue. For the hoodie, black. For the jeans, black jeans, blue jeans, gray jeans, and so forth for the sneakers as well. So we can see that our data store was properly populated and we are good to go. So now we have the first, well, this is just a use case. You might not, everyone has different data points, data storage or database where they keep that data, but like I said, for this use case we'll be using Datastore. So this was just to inject all the data inside. Now we're going to get into the fun part of this. So we're going to create a new scenario again. So we're going to create this. So the first thing we want to do now is create the Datastore module, because we are going to, we're not checking for a specific record. No, we're checking for all, we're scanning through all our data store. So for that, we're just going to search records. I'm going to search records. We're going to pick our data store, which is our clothing data store. We don't need to filter anything because we are, you know, searching the entire thing. But if you want to filter like maybe specific stocks to check, then we can put in the filter. But for now, we're just going to save this as a data store. And now, since we are working with two logics here, we want to create a router that will route for each of the, that will route through each of the logics. So for that, it can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4, it can be 500. As much logic as you have for your products, the sky is the limit. So routers again usually route in the order in which they were created. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and so on to be 3, 4, 5. So they only route in the order of the number associated with them, pretty much in the order in which this routing logic was created. So we're going to create the first one, which would be an iterator. Now, why do we need an iterator? Because we need an iterator because the iterator is going to iterate through the data in the data store to find the total product quantities, because that is the first logic. We want to make sure that the total product quantity, if it goes below 50, we get an alert. So for this, we are going to map this to the variance. Why the variance? The variance is what contains the quantity that will give us that we're pretty much going to be working with, the quantity, because this is what is going to give us that alert. So we are going to map the quantity. Oh, not the quantity, my bad. We're going to map the variance, the array. So the reason why you don't want to go mapping the quantity itself is because you are working with nested values, right? And you want to be able to work with all the data in your variance array. If you click on quantity and you want to iterate through quantity, it will be difficult to use these values down the line, and I'll show you why. I'll show you why in a minute. So for this, we're going to save this, iterating through the variance. This, we can rename this to what we're going to call this, products quantity check. Yep, product quantity check. I think that works. We don't need to put any condition. This is just to label it so we know what is what. This will be the individual quantity check. individual quantity check. Okay, so this too will be an iterator, but we're going to also iterating through the variance. So now that we have our iterator set up, the next thing we're going to want to do is so when this should we run this now? Let me see. Let's see. Okay, no, we can't run it yet. I mean, I think we can run it. It didn't work because I only ran this module. Okay, let's just run everything so you can see the outputs before I connect the numeric aggregator. So as you can see, the data store ran, the outputs went to both sides. Right now it's still the same data. We've not yet started like breaking down what we need, but as you can see here, the data store picked up the four products and outputted them as bundles. So as you can see, the t-shirts, the hoodie, I think this is the sock, no, this is the jeans, then this are the sneakers, no socks. Yeah, okay, so this were routed. They went through the filter again because we did not set any what you call it, any filter, and as you can see, it iterated through only the variance. Now the variant that was iterated in the inputs, the inputs is what we mapped. So it took each of those collections and made them bundles of their own so we can work on it together. So now we can work on the quantity, we can use bundle position if we need, we can pretty much now work with the data, you know, with the key value pair right there. You can see the key is quantity, the value is 20, the key is size, the value is male. So now medium, sorry, the size is medium, the color is red. So now let's map this. Let's map the quantity itself without the variance and see what the output would be. Because now so now we run this, and if you look at the operation, it only presents the value, and it calls it value. You see what I'm saying? So what value is this? You don't even know if it's the age, the size, the quantity, none of that, you know, and that way we cannot really work with this values. It's only giving us we know what it is. We know it's the quantity for the variance for each of the what do you call it, data, but that is not what we are trying to do. And as you can see, it only picks the first 11. It only picks the first. It doesn't pick all the variants for that particular item. So that is why you don't want to do it this way. Doing it this way, you're pretty much specifying. You get what I'm saying? You're pretty much specifying the first, specifying the first collection, only the first collection of each item, and that won't give us what we want. Let's say we want to get only the, I think the second item, but I think I don't know if, I think this is the one that if it puts 2, it will show you the third one. It starts from 0, but we'll see. Let's save this. So for this now, we try to be more. For this now, I'm just showing you examples of how this mapping thing works. And so for this now, we pick the second only, right? So let's run this and see what happens. Before there was nothing there, and it was only picking the first one, right? So now we said, okay, for, you see, 130. it's no longer the 20 that we saw earlier. Now it's picking the second one, what we wanted. So 130, the value 10, that's only the second one, the second collection. Unlike before, it was only producing the first collection, but now it's producing the second collection because we specified that it should be mapped to the second quantity. But again, like I said, you won't be able to do much with this data, so it's best to map the array together. So I'm going to save this. Okay, this is saved already. I'm going to run this again one more time so that we get the proper data we need. So now we are now going to aggregate the data for each of the variants we need. Remember, we're trying to add these three quantity together for each of this collection, right? So we're going to use the sum. Oh no, it's going to be in tools, right? Numeric aggregator, yes. So we're going to use a numeric aggregator. Source module, we want to pick the source is from the iterator. The aggregate function we're using in this case is the sum, and the value is the value for this is the quantity from the iterator, because right now we're only working with the variance. So now we only want to work with the quantity. In this case, we want it to iterate through the collection from a single bundle and add all the quantities together. So now, after it adds all the quantities together, we will now know the amount or the quantity for each product. Let's run this only. Okay. Let me see something. I'm checking something. I've never done this before like this. Okay, no. So we're going to run this just so I can show you how the numeric aggregator works. So the inputs was the variance for each of the three collections, right? So that's why you can see there are three inputs: input 1, input 2, input 3. 20, 130, 150. This is the first operation for the first item. 20, 130, 50. That is 150, 200. That is 200, and that's how we got this. For the second operation, we can see 11, we can see 10, that's 21. 21 plus 20, that's 41. And as you can see, 41, the three bundles were put in, were added together, summation together, and you got your 41, and so forth and so on. So now that we've done that, the next thing we want to now do is we want to set a variable. Now, why am I setting a variable? I will tell you in a minute. So I can set it. So basically what this variable is doing is we'll just this we don't want to send an email for this row, for this logic. I mean, I can set it up that it sends an email for the first one, for the second one, but just for time's sake, I'm only going to use one of the rows as an example, and I'm going to use the second row. So I'm just saving the final data in a variable. Again, normally, no, not set multiple variables, just set variables. Yeah, okay. So normally after this, I could have put like an email function or a Google Sheet function or a Telegram function or an SMS function, whatever your endpoint is or your target is. But because I'm not doing any of that, I'm setting a variable here, and this is like the total quantity warning. In this case, we want to set it up for one life cycle, and and again, we can set the variable here and still add an email module at the end to pick up the variable and send through an email. So the value here, this could contain the message, and we can say, okay, total quantity for product ID. So total for product ID is so now we can map this total quantity for the ID. So first of all, this is going to, picking the ID now will pretty much display whichever ID has the low quantity. Then the name of the record, so we know what product is it's low on, which in this case the t-shirt. So we can say total quantity for product ID, the ID number, the record name is lower than 50. Current quantity equals, so whatever the current quantity from the results is, in this case 200. So in this 200 for the first one, but don't worry about all this. This just shows you, gives you an example or a preview of what, data that the key value is collecting. So we're going to save this, and I think we're done with that. Okay, no, we need to set a filter. Yes, no, so this is where the magic is. This is where the logic is. So less than 50, less than or equal to 50. Yes. So we use this label. So what we want to do here is we want to look at the numeric operator, the results. If the result is, this is a text operator, so we want to go down to a numeric operator. So if it's less than or equal to 50, it goes true. So we're going to run this and see if we have any product that is less than 50 or equal to 50. So let's run this first and see how this works. So voila, we can see, remember we had our aggregators, summarize it, 200, 41, total results 80, and total result 55. Here we can see there's only one with a total product that is less than 50. So this is where the filter catches it. As you can see, this didn't meet the criteria, this didn't meet the criteria, this didn't meet the criteria, but this is less than or equal to 50, the second bundle that had 41 in it. So because of that, that was the only one that went through, and it was stored as a variable in this total quantity, which was the name, the label. The lifetime cycle was a round trip. The value which we wrote out now tells us that the total quantity for the product ID number 2, the name, which is a hoodie, which is our hoodie, as you can see here. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So as you can see here, number 2, which is our hoodie, they tell us that, the total product for this is 41, which is our current quantity, is less than 50. Please take a look, please look into it, whatever you want to do. Now for this second row, this is where I'm going to go ahead to send an email so you can see how it works when the email comes through. So for this, we are not going to do a numeric aggregator. For this, we're just going to set a variable. It's always best practice to set a variable, so that way you can use it across down the line, across other modules, but you will not be able to use that module in a different route. Every variable set on each route only works for that route. This route up here going this way has no idea there's a second route down here. just FYI. This to these three guys here, they just think they are the only ones that exist with this bunch of guys here as well. You get, they have no idea there's another row down here. So if you set a variable on this row, keep aware that it's only going, if you keep on adding more things, it's only going to, the variable is only going to work for that row. But anyways, let's get into the second row. So this, we're going to set a variable as well. Set variable, and for this variable we are going to call this individual quantity warning, and we are going to leave this as 1 cycle. For the variable, the message that would be receiving in our email, we can say individual quantity for products ID. I like using line breaks. The more line breaks you put, the more line is broken. So for this, I'm using 2. Then we can now say, okay, for the record ID, the individual quantity for product ID, so we'll call out the ID number. In brackets we have the name of the product, so we know what the product is. Then that's the first line. Then we're gonna get into another line real quick, break into another line. We'll have the record ID and the record ID number and the name. We also want to know what the SKU number for that product is. So we're going to map the SKU from the iterator, and break our line again. And now we're going to add the current level. The current level, current quantity level, or whatever you want to add. Current quantity level equals the quantity, current quantity level equals that, so we know what's left, or we know what's left. Before the current quantity level, I want to add so this will just pretty much tell us it's 5 or less. 5 or less. Let's do it like this: 5 or less current quantity level. Yes, let's put this in brackets. So this pretty much, obviously I can make it way more better, but just, for POC demo cases, we're going to save this. Now our variable has been set, but we didn't set our filter yet for the 5, the 5, anything 5 or less that might be coming through. So we're going to call this less than 5. The condition here is the quantity, because that's what we're going to be looking at. And obviously the numeric operator, since we're dealing with numbers. So if it's, I think this is numeric, yeah. If it's less than or equal to 5, don't let it through. And yeah, if it's less than or equal to 5, don't let it through. I will save that. For this, for example, we were working with the results. Remember, this was the result because we wanted the aggregated sum numbers of everything from our numeric aggregator. But since we're not using numeric aggregator here, we can just go straight and skip that and just focus on mapping the focus on mapping the quantity to make sure to check if it's less than 5 coming true. Now, if it's less than 5, that is the only thing that will go through, and an email will be sent out. But let's run this real quick and see. Let's run this module only and see, since we've run this earlier, so we don't waste operations. We're going to run this. It's asking for the record ID. We're just going to put. I don't want to manually do it this way. You put 4, basically pretty much you just manually put the ID numbers and fill out everything that needs to be filled out. But yeah, I'm just gonna run everything once so you can see everything in action, because you need to also see the filter work. So the actuator, after running the 4 operations, now passes through the filter. As you can see, it's ran through all 12 items individually, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, searching for anything less than 5, for any individual stock less than 5. And as you can see here, less than or equal to, that is the sign, less than or equal to, and there is 1. We just have 5, which is the last pair of shoes. There's the blue shoes is 5 right now, and we're running low. We want to increase this. We want to add more quantity to this, right? But first, we want to send an alert, an email alert to the team, to your vendor. You can tag them, you can CC them, to yourself. We're going to send an email. Is it this? I'm going to send an email. No, I'm going to use the Gmail module for this. They're both red. I used to mix them up. So we're going to use the Gmail module to send the email. If you want to know how to connect to your Gmail module, you can check one of my videos. I think it's 2 videos away from this, my 3rd video or so, on how to connect to your Gmail module. It's pretty different than the others, so that's why I made a special video for it. But now we want to now set up, okay, who this is being sent to. We're going to send it to my Gmail, richie.flowthinkers@gmail.com. We don't need any recipients. It's just going to come to me. In the subject, we're going to call this individual product quantity warning alert. Dramatic. Let's make it dramatic. So now what's the content going to be? You can say like hello somebody. Or if you have the name of the, or whoever it's sent out to, you can say hello somebody. We created a warning message in our set variable, so we are going to use that variable. This would be our individual quantity warning, which contains the warning sets in the variable. And we're going to save this and we're going to run this. Voila, all complete. As you can see, 1 went through, which was the one that was less than or equal to 5. The output message says individual quantity product for product ID BRBR for sneakers, SKU 5 or less. Now let's check our email and see if we have any email from. It's there already. It came a minute ago. This is 10:02, time is 10:03. And it says hello, individual quantity for product ID for sneakers, individual product quantity warning alerts. You know, you can make this red, you can design how you want to design it. You can have your company's what do you call it, header, logo, brand inside of the message in an HTML format. You can do all that. So it shows you the four sneakers, the SKU number, 5 or less for this product, and this is the current quantity level at 5. But and that is how this works. But we want to go a step further. We want to make this a little bit more fun. We want to go a step further and add a new scenario that listens in for a webhook, using a webhook that listens in when that webhook is activated, and it updates the data in our data store. As you can see right now, our data store says we are running low on this. The vendor or your team has, received this email like, hey, this is what is happening now. One of our things is low. Contact this, call this person, call that person, message this person. Where's this person? Where's Mark? Where's Joanna? Yeah. But there's no need for all that because they've already been contacted. Or if you're using Teams, Slack, anybody, But let's get into it and add a new scenario that automatically updates your inventory. So we are going to create a new scenario. We'll just call this online clothing store. And what this does is check products quantity. Okay, so we're gonna save this and we're gonna create a new scenario. So we're going to create a new scenario, and now what this scenario, like I said, is going to do for us is pretty much updating the low quantity. So what we want to do now is we want to create a webhook. This is the webhook that would we're going to use a custom webhook. It triggers when a webhook receives data. And we are going to create a new webhook. We're going to call this online clothing store webhook, and we're going to create this. It's going to give us a key, a link, sorry. It's going to give us a link which we can copy. Then now we're going to go to the previous email and previous setup and add this in there. Let's do some BRs, BR. So yeah, we're gonna put a message and be like, please click. Let's take this back a notch. So now we're going to say, please click. Let me make this bigger. Please click a referencing the hook. Please click on this web link to for now I'm coming when the fulfillment order has been received. Should we say received? Okay. So please click on this link when the fulfillment order has been received. But we're not done yet. We still have to make our link a bit. We also have to make our link understand what it's looking out for we also need to map the link so that way we can, so that way the webhook knows what to update whenever, you know, somebody clicks on that link, you know. So okay, so now we're going to finish working on this link. So now you want to add, so usually when it comes to links that when it comes to webhooks, you can add the key. Question mark is pretty much you're querying the data store. The webhook will take you to the webhook link will take you, or pretty much connects you to the data store, but now you're now querying with the question mark and specifying the column, which is the key. First of all, you want to map the key, because the key ID the key, because the key in this case is unique, that way it knows the record you are referring to. And you want to ID, you also want to, you know, add the ID as well, and also the SKU number, and and SKU equals the SKU number. Okay, so now we want to embed the link inside the year. So you say message that say please click here. So right now what we're doing now is we are embedding this link into the word year, so that when it comes out here, it won't look all linky. It will just have the word year, and you can click on it and it will do the updates. But for now, we're going to say please click here when the fulfillment order has been received, or I would say processed, received, or processed, or confirmed, you know, whichever word you want to use. When the fulfillment stock order has been received or processed or confirmed. Obviously, you're not going to write it like this in real life, but you know, just for this use case. So we're going to save this now, and we are going to run this again just so you see how the new email is. And let's run this real quick. We're going to see a new email alert, and this time okay, my bad, I referenced the entire thing. You don't want to reference the entire thing, we only want to work with here. So we're going to close this up. Okay, so we're going to close this up. We're going to close this up. Now that we've closed it up, we're not going to run it again. We didn't close it up, so it's just took everything. But now that we've closed it up, it's going to be for the year. So we're going to run this now. And we're going to show and see. Voila. Now it's just a link on its own. So hello, this is the individual quantity for sneakers SKU 5 or less. Please click here when the fulfillment stock order has been received or processed or confirmed. So when we click on this, we've not set it up yet. So you're only going to get like a 200 accepted request. The reason why we're even seeing a 200 accepted request is because we've you know, already created a webhook, we've given it the link, it's active and all that. So it knows that this webhook exists, so that is why you're seeing accepted. But nothing has been set up yet. We want this trigger to be kicked off when that link is clicked on and the data is updated. So for this, what we're going to do this now is we are going to go search. We're going to go into our data store again to search for the records. Now the records we're going to search for now is, okay, we're going to first link our data store. Now we're going to filter by the ID. Remember, in the webhook we added the ID, the SKU, and the what do you call it? The ID, the SKU, and the record ID. Yeah. So yeah, we're just going to use the SKU is not present, so we're going to use the ID, and we want an operator that says, okay, when this ID matches the ID from the webhook. So now if it matches the ID, you continue, you let it pass, you know, map it. So now we are filtering like the ID from the data store must equal the ID received from the webhook. So if that criteria is met, we can now go on to now, because that would now help us, that will now help the system understand like, okay, which ID are we trying to edit, modify, update, delete, whatever. So now that we've matched the ID, the next thing we want to do with that is iterate through the data in the data store. We want to iterate through the data in the data store, and as usual we'll map the variants, and the iterator pretty much is just, the iterator pretty much is like, okay, pulling all the data we need, bringing it, putting it together in a bundle so we can work with it. So now that we have our iterator, what we're now going to do now, this next part is a bit tricky. It's not tricky per se, but it's still logic. So now all the iterated data that has been collected now needs to be aggregated. It now needs to be aggregated on the what do you call it, on the set of data as we are going to be working with. So for that, we are going to find our aggregator. We're going to get our aggregator module out. We're going to set our iterator as the source module. Now for the target structure type, we can leave it as custom, but sometimes it's usually best practice to, if you know what the data structure is, to pick it up. Right now you are not seeing any other option apart from custom, and the reason why you're not seeing anything else is because we've not yet added the targets. Let me think of a better way to explain this. The source is coming from one of these three, right? Because the source is before the array. So the source, which is where it's coming from, has to be coming from one of these three. So that is why we can see these options 1 to 3, because it's asking you where the source is coming from. But now the other part is asking you the target. Where are you targeting? Where are you trying to get to? What are you trying to get to? So because we've not added anything yet, that is why it's empty. Let's for instance add our data store. Let's just put add or replace a record. If we come back here, let's save this. Let's pick closing doors. They are. Let's save this for now. Save. Now let's come back here, and voila, we saved it, and now we can now see the target as to where our data will be going to. But if this wasn't there, you're not going to see this target option. So again, it's asking you the target structure type. So in this case, we already know our data store. We know our data store right now is running on JSON. And I mean, we don't need to even type JSON. We just need to just specify like, hey, this is where our target is going, and you know, this is where we want the data to be modified. As you can see, once I change it to the data store variant section, the record variant, the items, the specifications all changed. If it's on custom, like if you see some other videos I did, now custom, assuming you want to work on, you know, different items from different iterators, then you can come here and say, okay, I want to pick the SKU, the color, the key from here, and maybe the ID, because you don't have ID here, you don't have the key here. Yeah, you don't work with all these three, 4 items. That is what the aggregator does. The aggregator picks, because first of all, the iterator already brings everything out in a bundle, you know, bundles them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, so you can work with them. But now obviously you don't want to work with everything, but you just want to work with a certain certain bundles and all that. So you can either come select all, but since we already added the target structure, and the aggregator can check and see, okay, this is what that data store structure looks like, then it will automatically populate what you need to map. So for this, we're just going to quickly map this, map this, map this, map this. Now quantity, not yet, and I'll tell you why. For quantity, we're going to give it a logic. This is where the logic to change the data comes into play. But before I go on, I want to quickly mention something or talk about something that I did not talk about earlier. So earlier, when we set up this webhook, there is something called redetermine data structure. So whenever you're receiving a webhook, the webhook does not know what structure that data is coming in as. It doesn't know what structure of data is receiving. So in this case, you can just click on redetermine data structure, have this link clicked again, and when that link is clicked, it understands from the webhook the data structure and determines like, oh, okay, in the back end, oh, these guys are working with JSON. I can see that. And you don't need to pretty much try to, you know, adjust or modify or manually change your data products. That is one, you know, amazing thing about this webhook. And there are a bunch of other powerful things this webhook can do, which I'll show you in other videos. But for now, for this one, we will just, you know, leave it at this for now, since that doesn't cover the scope of this video. So after the data store, okay, so now I said we want to give the logic, the quantity, or the logic for the quantity as to how it would be updated if the quantity is less than 5, right? So now we're going to start with an if function. This is going to be a bit confusing, but I'm going to try my best to explain it. So this is an if function. An if function in this case says that if the condition is met, that means 1 equals 1, give me A. But if it's not met, give me B. And the condition in this sense, what we're trying to do is if, so now we're going to say if the SKU, if the SKU number equals the SKU number from the webhook. We can't use ID because it's not part of our iterator. The two things that we can use in this case is the SKU. So if this SKU that we're receiving from the webhook matches the SKU from the iterator that was picked up from the data store, and you have a matching pattern, then go ahead to do the next thing. So now what is the next thing? Now we're going to now nest another if in there, because right now we're just working on the matching, right? So now we're going to add another if in there. So now we're going to say if, and I'll explain all of this in a minute. So if, well, the quantity, if the quantity in the iterator that is picked from the data store is less than, we're using the math function here, less than or equal to 5, then if it's less than, if the quantity is equal to or less than equal to 5, then I want you to do a summation. We're still going to be in the math function here. We want to do a summation. In that summation, the summation says returns the sum of values in a specified array or the sum of numbers entered individually. So as you can see in this bracket here, we're now going to now tell the function what is going to add to get what we need. So we're going to add the quantity, because we're adding the quantity, then I added the then and 50. So 50 is in the sense that every time you want to update the stock of your products, you want to always add 50, and your vendor knows, your team knows, you always want to keep it at 50 every time as the standard number for updating the quantity of each individual product if it goes low. So now you're saying, okay, if the quantity is less than or equals to 5, do a summation that adds the current quantity to 50. You get that? So if that adds that is only if it's less than or equal to 5, do the summation. If not, just leave it the way it is. If not, just leave it at the quantity. Then again we're going to add another quantity. So pretty much this is it. I'm going to save this, then we are going to talk a little bit about this. I think I have a diagram here. I have a diagram that can help break this down that I put together. Let's see. Saved it in my I just want to give you guys a visual representation of this explanation, so that way you pretty much understand what was done there. So yeah, we said, okay, So yeah, we said, oh, failed to open file. What happened? Can you open? Okay, let me do this again. Okay, so look at this real quick. Okay, I'm gonna put on my screen on the side by side so you guys can see what's going on here. So I wish I had the thing on the I wish I could add the pen on the screen so I can draw this out and everything. But yeah, I was saying we're nesting a if function within an if function. The first if function just says, this is the first if function here. This part here that says if SKU matches SKU, then do this. If SKU matches SKU, then if SKU matches SKU, then do this. Yeah, if SKU matches SKU, okay, I think it's better like this. If SKU matches SKU, then do this. Just present the current quantity. But since we are not doing that, and we nested an if within an if, that which the first if said, if the quantity is less than or equal to 5, do a summation. We added a summation inside the first part of the if function. Do a summation, else return the quantity the way it is. So there are two conditions here. Meaning, so now if the bundle, the SKU of the bundle equals the SKU of the webhook, if there's no match, just return the quantity, which is the current quantity, which is 5. But if there's a match and the quantity is less than or equals to 5, add 50. But if there's a match but the quantity is not less than or equal to 5, maybe somebody accidentally clicked on it or something, and it's not less than 5 after checking, and then it's no, just return the number there. And these numbers that are being returned is just the 5, right? Meaning no addition or anything was changed in the data store. No summation was added, but yeah, we added a summation if it's less. So that's pretty much what is going on here. But I've been doing this for almost 8 years now, 8 to 10 years. So I'm playing around with functions. More than that, if I really think about it, actually more than that, but I will just save this. So now we are going to spend a while on that, but we're almost done. I'm just going to now fill in the data store. So yeah, again, like I said earlier, one of the important things is the key. It says here the key can be used to retrieve the record. If you leave this key, field blank, a key will be generated. Now we don't want that because we want to identify the key for this scenario that will be, we want to identify the key for this scenario that will be give me a second. So we want to identify the key. Oops, my camera right there. What is this? So we want to identify the key that will be now we want to identify the key that will be presented that we will use to change the values. So here we're going to pick out the key. Now we want to overwrite an existing record. Let me see, add or replace a record. No, we're not using add or replace a record. My bad. We're using update a record. That was just an example I was trying to show you guys earlier. Update a record. So we'll come back and change this. Let's save this first. I mean, we can just quickly fill this up for now, then go back and adjust the array aggregator. So for the record, for this it will be the key, for this it will be the record ID, for this it will be the name, description, type, units. For the variance, we're going to map it, and we're going to, now we're not going to use this variance, we're going to use the array. I'm going to use the array in this sense because that is what contains the data from the data store that we are going to update. We're going to update pretty much. That's where the quantity is, and that is the array we want to use. So we are going to save this. We're going to now pick this, make sure everything has been mapped. We're saving this. Oh, so yes, let's should we run this now? Well, I mean, let's just add the final webhook. We don't really need to add this, but this is just a webhook that returns a response to whoever clicks it, you know, something along the lines of thank you. So instead of seeing accepted, the 200 accepted response will be seen like thank you, we have updated our records with the requested stock. So we're going to save this, and voila, we have our new scenario that updates low quantity. So I'm just going to save this, to align this, and what we're going to do now is we're going to leave this on as immediately as data arrives, so that whenever a webhook data arrives, it automatically picks it up. So we're going to save this. So let's quickly come back to our clothing store. Let's auto align this real quick. So here we can see our webhook that listens in is set up. So let's go back to the product quantity that is being checked right here. So we're going to auto align this. The data, we don't need this. This was the earlier one I did. Let me close this. Okay, so this is the online clothing store, the products check quantity. So as you can see here, we have a quantity of 5, right? Let's make this 4. Let's make this 4. Let's not use 5. Let's make this 4. I'm going to save this. Save. You always want to save because sometimes it doesn't save for you, so you have to manually come here and save that. So we're going to run this again and see what happens. Voila, voila, voila. Everything is run, everything is set. We did not, like I said, I did not add any module. Again, we can add a module, an email module that would also send you an email that when product is low. We can add more routers for different logic as much as we want, but let's check our email real quick. Oh, there's a new email message. Now it's 4, compared to the one that was 5 before. So that's why I changed the number, so you can see the difference. from the previous emails we received. So now that they're telling us, hey, that same sneakers, it's gone down again, we've not updated it, blah blah blah. So now you have this message here that says, please click here when the fulfillment stock order has been received or processed or confirmed. So let's say the vendor sees this and like, okay, or someone contacts the vendor, this your team sees this, someone contact the vendor, you know, sends the fulfillment, and now your stock is up to date. Now your team member comes back here and clicks on this. Before I click on this, I'm just going to take us here. We're not really going to see it run. We're going to see it run. I'm going to show you. We're not going to see it run. We're just going to just watch. So when I click on this, let me take this back one step. Save changes. Okay, so as you can see, the history is still 0. Nothing is here. This is the diagram. Nothing has been run. It's clean, history clean, all that clean. So I'm going to click on this. Bam. As you can see, immediately that was clicked on, the scenario was picked up and started running. It says, thank you, we have updated our records with the requested stock. As you can see, less than 1 second ago, it was a success. You can see the run that took place here. The webhook received the data that we put together. Remember, in the webhook, we put the key, we put the ID, and we put the SKU inside. We queried it with a question mark, and it gave this to us. So now it knows the data we are trying to work with here. It knows the data that is low on quantity. So because now we've gotten that data, we're going to search our records, and we are pretty much going to look for what matches the ID. Yeah, the outputs, it found the ID that matched, because again we put in an ID of 4. The operator was like, okay, the text must be equal to 4, and because 4 was the one that was low, right? So it searches it finds it like, oh, 4, the sneakers, right? The stylish sneakers, the shoes, the ones with the variants of all 3 variants, and the third one being 4, right? So it finds the record we're looking for and sends this data to the iterator, which iterates and picks all the collection and presents it as a bundle, so it's easier to work with. So now your collection has become a bundle of those variants on its own. So this is the first one, the second one, and the low one with 4. This is the one we're trying to update because our team member said they've updated it, right? So our aggregator got the 3 bundles, and as you can see, because of the if function earlier, it's now updated from 4 to 50, because we said if it's less than 4 or less than 5 or whatever number, or equal to 5, if it's less than or equal to 5, add 50 to it. So as you can see, everything remains the same except for the one that had the 50. So now the output you will see is 54. It's showing other input as well because it was an input. As you can see that it was an input. This is where the calculation went down, so it will also present itself as an input and now outputs the calculation and everything, as we can see. So now that has been updated, it comes back to our record. We can see that the variant has been updated. This is just giving you the key, telling you like, hey, we've done what you needed right there. So now let's come back and check our data store, and let's see, I think we need to refresh the page. Okay, it's 4. So now let's refresh the page and see if it changed or not. If it doesn't change, then there's an issue somewhere. But did it not? Voila, 54. So that is it right there. You know, this is an example of a situation where you want to automate your inventory, a smart inventory tracker that, you know, iterates through all your data and helps you check which is running low on stock, if you need to update it, if you need to be alerted. And there's way much more things you can do with this data. You know, you can run insights you on your data. You can do a bunch, man. You can do a bunch. Like I said, this is something that cuts across like e-commerce, logistics, service businesses, pretty much. So you can pretty much apply this to, different industries. But this is, I think I've come to the end of this video. If you like any of this, or you like to see more, or you have ideas of what you would like me to build out, please please subscribe. It helps me really, really well. I love automation. I've been doing automation for years, man. I can't even start to think of when. But if you run an agency or a SaaS, this is the kind of backend operations you will want automated. So I'm going to put the blueprints for the scenarios in the description. If you want it, if you want to edit it, modify, play with it. um, with that being said, thank you. You have a good day, and that is it.